This is 1480 KRAE Cheyenne.
Also being heard on translator K266CC Cheyenne at 101.1 FM.
Right now on 1480 K-Ray, it's time for the Pro Show, featuring the only father and son sports talk show talking about the local sports scene as we take a look back and look ahead to upcoming events around our area. The Pro Show is on now, right here on 1480 K-Ray. Morning. Welcome to the Pro Show. I'm Larry Proietti, along with Nick Proietti, and we're going to go right to the phones. We're going to bring on our first guest. He's Denver Broncos beat reporter for Mile High Sports and host of Locked On Broncos podcast, that being Cody Roark. And we haven't talked to Cody in a long time. So, Cody, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and let's talk some Denver Broncos. I'm sure there's quite a few things we can talk about with the Denver Broncos today. So
yeah, obviously, thanks for having me, guys.
I guess we go to the first part of the equation with the Denver Broncos, a new coach, and you look at the last three: Vance, Vic, and as well as Nathaniel Hackett. And I'm going to be real honest with you, Cody. I was not very happy with the Nathaniel Hackett choice last season. I knew there was better talent out there. So, in your opinion right now, what are you hoping that the Broncos accomplish with this new head coach?
Well, I think that the operational process will be entirely different for them this time around, because last year when the Broncos were in need of a head coach, they did not have an ownership group in place. And so realistically, George Paton had to assemble a committee to hire something. You can't wait, unfortunately. Like, the Broncos were not in a position to wait to have to hire a head coach, and they conducted, a search where they cast the net, and they brought in guys like Kevin O'Connell, who became a first-year head coach with the Minnesota Vikings. You can also take a look at Dan Quinn, who decided to stay in Dallas at that point, was a finalist for one of the Broncos jobs there. And then, obviously, Nathaniel Hackett kind of wowed them with, his interview, and he's a great interviewer. And I think that's also something, a lot of people buy a lot of excitement and hype into. Everybody in an interview, you're giving your best representation of yourself. So, sometimes, you could be the best overall candidate from that perspective. And a lot of the things that Nathaniel Hackett said that he had plans to do with the offense, regardless of who was at quarterback, was to give the Broncos a chance to be better offensively, which, under Pat Shurmur, they simply weren't, considering the defense that they had under Vic Fangio. So that was a huge question. And the biggest hope that Denver went into the last head coaching search was, someone who could connect with the players really well and repair a little bit of the broken culture inside the locker room. Because, as good of a defensive coach as Vic Fangio was, Vic rubbed a lot of players the wrong way with his style. He never connected with his players outside of football, which I do believe is important. I think there's a fine line. A lot of people think a player's coach is being best friends with the players. That's not necessarily what it is. A player's coach is somebody who cares about what their players have going on, off the field. They care about them in the building more so than just being a football player who can do something for them. But it's also being able to flip the switch and know that, hey, we have to get going. We have to be more disciplined. And it's having those tough conversations. It's holding guys accountable, holding yourself accountable, which we heard a lot of that from Nathaniel Hackett this year, but it didn't seem like that was actually happening. There really wasn't a sense of accountability with what was going on. We just got told the same thing every day. It starts with me, but there was nothing that ever changed. It was the same thing every week. And so this time around, Denver has ownership in place. Greg Penner is leading the search, relying heavily on George Paton. Condoleezza Rice is involved in the search as well. And for Denver, what they're looking for is someone who can lead this football team and have that balance of, the locker room culture is really good right now in Denver as is, amongst the players. You don't have to worry about that. But the culture on the field of winning and losing games, that has to change. The Broncos have to become a winning team again, and this next coach will be largely responsible for getting Denver back to winning football, which is what Greg Penner wants ultimately the best. So Denver's exhausting all their options here to make the right decision, and we'll see. I think next week we'll find out who the next head coach is.
Cody, how much pressure is on the Denver Broncos organization? And I say this, and not tongue-in-cheek here, I'm saying this because in nearby Boulder, they went out and got Neon Dion. So how much pressure is on the Broncos to get that significant coach in place?
Yeah, in comparison to, Dion, like the NFL game is so different than the college game. Obviously, a lot of these college guys will come up and they could have been stars at D1 school, but the NFL is a tough transition. It's a faster game. It's more physical. It's a little bit more difficult to cut your teeth in there. For Denver, they just have to worry about getting the guy that's going to get this team on the right track. And I don't think that Denver necessarily has to change much. I think we can all acknowledge the biggest issue with this team right now really is the offense and how bad it's performed. But this next head coach can't just specialize on the offensive side of the ball. They have to specialize in leading. And I think the one thing we've noticed in Wild Card Weekend this past weekend, gentlemen, is coaching matters 110%. And I can even say in the final two games for Denver this year, against the Chargers and against the Chiefs, we saw a different Broncos team than we saw all season long. We saw a better coached team. We saw the offense performing at a better rate than they ever have, the entire season, because they realistically simplified the game plan. They didn't make the offense too complicated. And that's one thing where Nathaniel Hackett went wrong is he tried to make his offense too complicated, and it simply was not working with what the Denver Broncos had personnel-wise. And there were too many different roles, and obviously a lot of injuries impacted that, and they had to bring in a lot of new guys. You can't run what you want. They had no offensive identity. So to me, I think that there is pressure on Denver because you have this window where you traded for Russell Wilson and you're hoping to win a championship within the next 3 to 5 years. The window is closing with Russell Wilson, and despite him coming off a career worst year, I think we've all seen that Russell Wilson can still play really good football. I think that the system that they were in last year didn't benefit him. I also think that injuries impacted him quite a bit, but the offense just simply didn't mesh. And I think that Denver needs someone who can come in and lead this team, not just offense, not just defense, but this team, and delegate to others. I don't believe that the Broncos' next head coach should be a play caller, in my opinion. I think that they should focus on the operation.
Well, and again, Cody, I was going to allude to that again, where we look with Vance, we look with Vic, and again, most recent with Hackett. Again, all were former coordinators, whether it was two defensive back-to-back with Fangio and Joseph, and again, now offensive-minded with Hackett. But again, all three of them, again, did not find any success with the Denver Broncos, which, again, it's a fan base that is wanting success. And I think that's why Pop's kind of brought up, again, nearby Boulder with Colorado, where, again, you imagine a lot of those fans kind of shifting monies and ticket, at least buying over to Boulder if, again, the Buffs find some success, at least down there at least nearby in the Mile High City. But, again, something we've talked about, at least for me, for the calling for the Broncos, has been get away from the coordinator search and more focus on at least entities that were at a point in time head coaches, whether it was in college or the NFL. Again, we know Broncos did go after or were trying to go after Jim Harbaugh. Again, he has said no and is going to at least go back to Michigan. But Sean Payton has been at least that entity, and we do know that he has been interviewed. Again, should Sean Payton be the guy, or, again, as you kind of alluded to, Cody, of you don't want that play caller, but could Sean Payton turn this team around, especially if he were to get in the role here in 2023?
Yeah, I think right now when I look at it, I think the favorite on paper is Sean Payton. I don't necessarily believe Payton will call offensive plays. I think that Payton will obviously hire somebody as his OC to run what he wants. And it could be someone he's familiar with, or he could have a little bit of a role. And as we still see Andy Reid. Andy Reid is the mastermind behind the operation that is the Kansas City Chiefs offense. So we could see kind of that Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy type role with Sean Payton if he were the guy, and whoever he brings on as his offensive coordinator. That's something to keep an eye on. I also think there are some other guys too. I think Raheem Morris is also a guy that should deserve some consideration. I think if he were to become a head coach again, he would obviously be the delegator. I think that if Raheem Morris were to get the head coaching job in Denver, which I think he deserves to get a head coaching job, I think Ajiro Evero would stay on as his defensive coordinator, barring whether or not Evero gets a job elsewhere, because he has interviewed for several other jobs around the National Football League right now. And then on top of that, I also think D'Amico Ryans is another hot name to keep an eye on. There's a lot of growing momentum around league circles surrounding a guy like D'Amico Ryans, and I think one thing that is valued with him is his leadership. That's been something that's been talked about widely. He does a really good job leading his unit, and he had high expectations of him. When Robert Saleh stepped away to take the job in New York, everybody was wondering, can the 49ers defense still maintain what they had under Saleh? And D'Amico Ryans took it, and he ran with it. And you can make an argument they probably even played a little bit better under D'Amico Ryans defensively than they did under Robert Saleh. So There's so many different factors that go into it. I think ultimately, and I think this has been expressed through Broncos ownership, they want somebody who can lead the team and not necessarily just be a stakeholder at one side of the ball, because when you have that, as the guys that you mentioned, the Vance Josephs, the Vic Fangios, you tend to, and even as Daniel Hackett, you tend to specialize in one area and you let other people do stuff on the other side, and it may not completely coincide with what's best for the team. To me, I think that's very, very important to consider, and I think that's the direction that Denver's going to go.
As we'll await, again, the decision for a new head coach announcement for the Denver Broncos. Again, interviews underway, and again, we'll wrap up at the end of this week, and hopefully a decision is made soon for the Broncos, again, which direction they go. Want to at least focus up, again, as we are under playoffs right now in the NFL, but again, right around that corner is going to be the NFL draft. Broncos, as you alluded to, again, in that trade, gave away the at least pick in the first round to the Seattle Seahawks, which, again, they benefit greatly, as that will be a top 5 pick for them. But Broncos do get a pick, I do believe, by way by the 49ers, but, again, later in that first round. Let's talk about draft day, and especially as we look at that number 1 pick with the Chicago Bears, who hold a lot of leverage. And, again, we'll hear a lot of, at least, outcry to a lot of teams out there to see if they can at least trade away that pick. Could the Broncos be one of those teams that go after that number 1 pick for Chicago, or what's kind of draft day one for the Denver Broncos look like, in your opinion, Cody?
To be honest with you, I think if they believe that Sean Payton is their guy, that first-round pick is going to be gone. Denver's not going to have it. You know, San Francisco's projected they could finish anywhere, I think, between 26 to 31, because obviously there won't be 32 because the Dolphins got stripped as their pick this year due to tampering, which ironically includes a guy like Sean Payton involved in that whole entire thing. Not necessarily him, but teams reaching out to him when they shouldn't have. There is that. I don't see Denver really – I mean, it would require so much for them to move up to try to get to number 1. It's not – I don't think it's feasible. I don't think that's what the Broncos are looking at doing at this point. I think for them, they look at this late first-round pick that they have. If they can get a really good coach for it, that's got more of a guaranteed chance to hit than it does, taking a chance on a college player in the late, round 1. A lot of people, a lot of fans that I've had conversations with have asked the question about that, and they said, well, the Broncos have all these issues on the offensive line. In my opinion, whoever Denver takes at the end of round 1 isn't going to come in and repair all the issues that, are there with the Broncos offensive line. I do think they need to take a look at the long-term prospects at right tackle, but there is nobody on the free agency market, really outside of Billy Turner, who I'd be interested in bringing back at right tackle. You have better options in free agency at center and guard, specifically left guard, to take a look at to bring in guys to repair. And you will have Garrett Bowles coming off of an injury. He's making tremendous progress in his recovery. So I think that coaching is also another thing that matters. That's why Butch Berry got fired. He didn't do a good job coaching these guys this season, and he rubbed a lot of people in that locker room the wrong way. So I think that there is a chance to keep an eye on Mike Munchak potentially returning to Denver as the offensive line coach. I know that is something that a lot of players have expressed that, they missed Mike Munchak this year, and you could definitely see why. Anything's on the table right now, but I don't see the Broncos having a first-round draft pick this year. I do see them trading that to acquire Sean Payton, if Sean Payton is the guy that they're looking for.
Cody, I want to circle back, and I'm glad that you mentioned Sean Payton. I'm going to throw a couple other names out, and matter of fact, you even threw one name out as a potential candidate for the Denver Broncos. A, Eric Bieniemy, former Colorado Buffalo, and B, Byron Leftwich. And I think both of these gentlemen are pretty much ready to move to that next role.
Yeah, with Byron Leftwich, how things ended in Tampa Bay, I think, impacts his stock a little bit. I felt like last coaching cycle was his best time to strike when the iron was hot. Jacksonville was a place that we all thought he was going to go. They went with a different direction, and honestly, I think they went with the right guy in Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson is a fantastic coach, and what he's been able to do in Jacksonville is very impressive. Obviously, they're playing in the divisional round this weekend against the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't necessarily think Byron Leftwich is in consideration for the Denver job, and Eric Bieniemy is not going to be an option in Denver. I honestly don't think he'll ever be an option in Denver. A lot of the background on Bieniemy, he does not interview well. He's interviewed with a handful of different teams over the last couple of years for their vacant head coaching jobs and has never been able to come through with it. That's been one criticism. He doesn't interview well, and he doesn't necessarily have a big-time plan in some of his interviews about what he's willing to do or what he's going to be able to do to make the team competitive. That's been something that's counted against him, not to mention some of the stuff when he was at CU, some very questionable background checks, have a lot of people kind of scratching their head a little bit at this point in time, and I don't think that it's going to mesh in Denver. I don't think they're going to look at him. And everybody looks at Kansas City, and they know that it's not Eric Bieniemy behind the operation. It's Andy Reid who is calling the plays. Like, there will be some times where Eric Bieniemy will relay a play call in, but mainly it is Andy Reid who is calling the plays and is operating the whole entire offense in Kansas City. So I wouldn't count on Leftwich or a guy like Bieniemy ever being an option for Denver at this point in time.
You mentioned Russell Wilson having a rough year this year, and I think all Bronco fans saw that. But we also saw old Russell Wilson right there towards the tail end of the season. The next coach that comes in, and I think back to his successful time in Seattle when he was, and again, we know Russell Wilson is aging, but he was very successful as an RPO-type quarterback. Are the Broncos looking for somebody that would be, whether it's an offensive coordinator or head coach, that would get Russell a little more movement back there? Because, again, when he was rolling, he looked like the Russell Wilson of old.
Yeah, and I think that there will be an emphasis on that, whoever comes in. And I even know Sean Payton several months ago when the Broncos early on in the season were struggling, he even said, like, if I were the coach, here's what I'd do. I'd look at everything that Russell Wilson did successfully in Seattle. I'd look at how he was in the red zone packages, and I would be copying that playbook. And I think that if Sean Payton is the guy or whoever the next head coach is, obviously you can't hire a coach based on will this guy turn Russell Wilson around. Russell Wilson obviously has to play better. He acknowledges that. But as you mentioned, we did see flashes where Russ did look like himself when he was doing things that he's done historically throughout his career that have been successful. A quick passing game, rolling out, throwing on the run, all set up by a strong run game. I mean, this is, I think, the formula that Denver wants to go with going forward is run to set up the pass. And you're going to get some guys back as well. Tim Patrick's coming off of an ACL. KJ Hamler is going to be 100% healthy going into training camp. I mean, Denver has a chance to really turn things around. Can they do it, though? Who's going to be the head coach? Who's going to be the offensive coordinator? What type of system and structure will they have in place to make sure that the Broncos offense can be successful? These are all questions that I think we're all waiting the answers to, that we probably won't find out a little bit until after some of the staff is assembled, and then looking at film and looking at where these other guys were. What did they do well? Are they going to, bring in what Russell Wilson does really well offensively? But it can't just be about what's best for Russ. It has to be what's best for the entire football team.
We mentioned Russell Wilson again. Denver Broncos giving up again a lot in that trade with Seattle, and again at least see if it will pay off dividends in years to come with Russell Wilson. But this is something again opinionated where you talk, Cody. Again, hopefully we get a lot of questions answered, especially regarding the head coach and what kind of direction will be for the Denver Broncos. But this offseason, including the draft as well, again a lot of talented quarterbacks available in that draft and offseason. Again, we know Tom Brady, who knows, will he return to Tampa Bay? Again, Aaron Rodgers. There's a lot of quarterbacks that might be kind of putting themselves on the market to shift to other teams. Could Denver, which again have had many years of on that QB, at least carousel, changing up identities, could Denver in the draft or in the offseason look at potential backups or at least kind of fill a role if Russell Wilson has another kind of rough year going forward to kind of fill that void? What do you foresee for the Broncos regarding at least the quarterback situation?
As it pertains to Russ, I don't think Denver will really look to the NFL draft maybe until next year. I think there are various quarterbacks that are coming out. If the Broncos struggle, if they lose, obviously they'll be in a position to have a top pick in the first round of next year's NFL draft. I think right now the biggest thing that Denver's probably going to answer about quarterback behind Russell Wilson is whether or not they look to bring back Brett Rippon, who is a restricted free agent. From what I have been told and from what I know, Brett Rippon is a very, very well-loved guy in the locker room from players, and also the front office likes him a lot, as well. And I think that he proved you don't have to necessarily have the same athletic traits as Russell Wilson or the mobility as Russ to take command of the offense. Rippon did command the offense relatively well for Denver this season, and unfortunately in his two starts, Nathaniel Hackett was still really calling the offense, minus that Arizona game where he completed 80% of his passes. 21 and 26, and buck 97 with the touchdown there. Rippon, I think they're waiting to see what's going to happen with Brett Rippon. I mean, from what I know, a lot's going to be contingent upon the next head coach, but I know that George Paton, I know the Broncos want Rippon back specifically as a backup. And best case scenario, you never have to play your backup, but if you do, I think that Rippon is serviceable enough to run the offense.
Final thought from me, Cody, and again, on behalf of Nick and myself, we want to say thank you for joining us. A couple things that we haven't touched upon yet, and just a need for the Denver Broncos. I think on the outside, offensively, we've got some stallions, and then defensively, what should the Broncos be looking at? But again, are we looking for more help on the outside as well?
I think so. I think one area Denver has to look at, I think with Patrick Surtain just continuing to evolve into a fantastic player that he is, the rise of Damari Mathis, who stepped up after Ronald Darby's injury, and then you have Ronald Darby still under contract, who's coming off of an ACL. I think Denver has to look at depth at cornerback in this year's NFL draft. I think that you have to have some other guys on the outside. There is an exclusive rights free agent, Lamar Jackson, not the Lamar Jackson, but another Lamar Jackson, who did get some run against the Kansas City Chiefs and actually looked pretty impressive. He could be a developmental guy. But outside of that, I think edge rusher is a possibility. If there is a really good edge rusher in round 3, or, let's say you still have your late round 1 pick, I think Denver has to invest on doing that, because Randy Gregory, when healthy, is very, very good for you. But he suffered that knee injury in week 4 and just simply couldn't come back from it. Baron Browning dealt with a couple of injuries, and you need to get pressure off the edge. And Denver has a couple of guys, but their depth at that position, in my opinion, is very, very low right now. So I think defensively, those would be the probably 2 areas you have to take a look at. And if you lose Draymond Jones, I think you maybe have to take a look at defensive line, whether it be free agency or the NFL draft.
All righty, Cody, great stuff. Thank you so much for giving us a few minutes of your time today, and we'll be looking forward to seeing what the Broncos do here in the offseason.
Absolutely, gentlemen. Thank you so much for having me.
All righty, Denver Broncos beat reporter for Mile High Sports and host of Locked On Broncos podcast, Cody Roark, joining us here on 1480 K-Rate. Larry Proietti, along with Nick Proietti. This is the Pro Show.
We'll keep it here for a few minutes before we at least kind of talk about at least what we had, at least that conversation with Cody again regarding Broncos, where again, a lot at stake here with the head coaching position. Again, will they go? Again, what direction? Again, I think Sean Payton should be the guy. Again, makes the most sense. I think he could establish not so much an immediate winning culture there in Denver, but again, could get him in that right direction. But again, we shall see. Again, at least interviews still going on this week. Again, I've been the proponent of saying, hey, you need a guy that's had that head coaching experience. He's the guy, and again, he's won a Super Bowl as well too with New Orleans, so it just makes sense. Regarding the quarterback situation, again, question I asked Cody, where this offseason, where again we know Tom Brady, with who knows with Aaron Rodgers again. Well, again, could you take that chance? Again, Denver did the same thing with one Peyton Manning as well too, and again, it paid off in dividends, where again led them to at least Super Bowl 50 victory. But again, we know Jimmy G. Who knows that situation out there in San Francisco? Again, will he return with the 49ers?
But going back to Peyton Manning, not to interrupt you, Nick, but behind Peyton Manning was a young Brock Osweiler. You got Russell Wilson again in his mid-30s right now. I don't know if you want to bring in, and again, I'm not disputing you. I'm just saying here's an Aaron Rodgers that's close to 40. Tom Brady's going to be 46. Jimmy G's going to be.
Just depends on how badly you want to win. Where again, Cody said, "Hey, within the next 5 seasons, you want to win with this guy," or again, that kind of window is closed. Again, I've said it since that trade happened that Russell Wilson is not the guy. You're seeing that he's a shell of himself. Again, thankfully he was not injury prone this season as he was up in Seattle. But again, he still has not proven to me that he is the guy. Again, if Sean Payton comes in and controls it, again finds a coordinator to adjust to Russell Wilson, I still don't think that he's going to get it done for the Denver Broncos to leave him to that promised land. Is it something that this offseason, could we see whoever that guy is in place be aggressive and go after again, at least, similar to what we were seeing with San Francisco, where, again, Trey Lance named as the guy. You had Jimmy G as your backup, but again, at least serviced pretty well and up until his injury. Now you have the rookie in with Brock Purdy, who is doing phenomenal things, and again, will continue on coming up this weekend against the Dallas Cowboys. But Could that formula of what you're seeing with Kyle Shanahan, and again, with all those quarterbacks available for the 49ers, could Denver look into something else where, hey, if this experiment in 2023 doesn't work with Russell Wilson, let's get the next man up? Because, again, we've seen this in years past, since Super Bowl 50, that, hey, the Broncos are willing to go on that QB carousel and go, all right, it's not working with you. Let's go with this guy now.
Well, here's one of the things I think the Broncos definitely need a quality running back. And again, if you're going to go RPO with Russell, you got to have that quality running back.
And they've had it again. They traded it away. So.
Now, and I agree with you on that. The second thing is, I think they have a great core of wide receivers.
Yeah.
I think making a trade for another quality wide receiver.
Offensive line is the big issue.
No, yeah,
that
it
needs,
is.
That needs a
but
lot
then
of
again, too, if you go to RPO, especially with Russell, that takes a lot of pressure off the offensive line. I mean, a good offensive line is one thing. A fair offensive line under an RPO system still makes them good.
Yeah.
So
do I anticipate that Denver, especially as we talk about the draft, again, a couple months away now, but again, will Denver go after, again, make a trade with the Chicago Bears to go after number one? Highly unlikely, highly doubtful. Again, Cody kind of agreed on that, where, again, don't anticipate that Broncos will be drafting anyone in that first round, especially with them, at least with the 49er pick. Again, that's going to be later in the first round, so we shall see. Again, Denver in the draft, again, I think Cody hit it on, at least kind of hit the nail on the head situation where, again, right tackle, at least got to bolster that offensive line. But free agency is kind of the key thing of where, with the Walton family in place, again, it's seeming like they want a winner, they want to invest money. Could they be aggressive and go after some big names and bolster some kind of the weak spots? Again, defense, there's some things to be shored up, especially in the backfield, but I think offensive line is kind of the key factor. If you got to find, again, I don't think you can go with youth and inexperience or go straight out of the draft, but again, you got to find someone that's going to be available on the market and be willing to toss some money at him.
You get the former Pittsburgh Steelers offensive lineman Mike Munchak back in place as one of the offensive line coaches. I think that's going to help out. Think about this, though, too. You go after Sean Payton. You're going to spend it's going to cost you a lot of money to get Sean Payton.
Yeah.
Because, again, you got to give some reciprocation to New Orleans, and, as well as he's going to command a high contract. So,
which, again, I think the Walton family is going to be more than willing to at least send out that kind of money towards him. Like I said, they invested in, because, again, they want a winner. They want money. They want butts and seats, which, again, started to trickle. Again, this season was one of the worst for the Broncos, and especially with fan attendance, it was on par of one of the worst. And it is kind of concerning if you are the Walton family or, again, with that Denver Broncos organization, especially, and again, I think you brought up a valid point, especially here in the Rocky Mountain region where all eyes right now, at least football-wise, again, it doesn't matter if it's collegiate, but same with the pros, all eyes right now in the Rocky Mountain region is Boulder, Colorado.
Prime time.
And, again, what are you going to do with that money where, again, those ticket prices, again, I've already looked at some of those opening contests, again, are NFL prices right now to go attend at least that CU Buffs opening contest. If they see some success, Denver still struggles going in at least 2023. You got to imagine a lot of those fans are going to look towards and get on that bandwagon with Coach Prime and go, hey, my money and my time, I'm going to invest into CU Buffs. And I'm not going to at least a Broncos game coming up on that Sunday. So we shall see.
Well, and I'm spoiled too, and you and myself being 49er fans. I don't want D'Amico Ryans leaving. I want him to hang around.
But it sounds like he's going to.
I know. I would hope the York family finds a way.
But obviously the 49ers, who have been picked clean of all of their coordinators, again, you look with McDaniel in Miami, Saleh in New York, again, they're picked clean of their coordinators because, again, they just have that talent. And give credit to Kyle Shanahan of finding these guys, training them, and, again, this team of a well-organized, at least organization, I guess, is plain and simple. But you got to imagine he will go. Will he go to the Broncos? Highly doubtful. Again, I think Sean Payton should be the guy. If the Broncos don't, again, it seems like he's the favorite running. Again, Cody kind of alluded to that. Mm-hmm. If the Broncos mess this up and don't acquire Sean Payton, if he goes somewhere else, oh, boy.
Well, see, and again, too, this is with D'Amico Ryans. I don't want a defensive coordinator as the head coach.
I don't want any coordinator at all, offense or defense.
Yeah, and they've been failures, okay? You go back to the Denver Broncos prime. Mike Shanahan, very offensive-minded. had Gary Kubiak that was his understudy, who eventually took over.
Yeah.
And again, guys that were offensive-minded. So is there that – and again, I threw, a Byron Leftwich out there. Maybe his stock is down. But there are other guys out there that are very offensive-minded. And that's what the focus should be on the Broncos.
Your biggest offensive
Their defense is okay.
The biggest offensive-minded guy I think that they had a shot at, or at least I wouldn't say a shot, but interviewed, was Harbaugh. Even though, again, he is recently, a couple days ago, said, hey, thanks for the opportunity. Conversation went well. I'm going back to Michigan. And I think that was the guy that, again, was that offensive-minded, powerhouse. Again, we saw what he could do with San Francisco, again, when he was leading those 49er teams in the playoffs before his exit down to at least Michigan. But, again, that was the guy. I think the next guy up is Sean Payton. Saw what he did with Breeze and New Orleans. Again, that was some high-powered offense out there in the Dome. Like I said, you missed out on Harbaugh. Sean Payton's the next best available. It would be shocking if the Broncos don't land him, don't get a contract, don't get him as the new head coach. Because if they don't, and you go with someone else, you got to imagine this Bronco fan base that's already at the breaking point. You lose out on a guy like this. Now what?
I think the breaking point showed up against the Chargers in the final game of the season. There was a lot of empty seats. Back in the day when you used to have fan attendance, 75,000 and 1,000 no-shows, people booed.
Yeah.
There was a plethora of no-shows for the final game for
there's
the Denver Broncos.
There's a lot of pressure in that front office, and again, with this decision for the head coach on the Denver Broncos, because, again, it's a fan base that is desperate for wins, desperate for a playoff appearance. Again, they're on one of the longest droughts of any NFL team right now to get into the playoffs. So it is a massive issue, and, again, I think that Denver's in a interesting situation just with Coach Prime now, again, a few miles up to the northwest of him up in Boulder, that, again, all the eyes and attention as of right now are with CU. And if they find success with the Buffaloes coming up in the season, which I have a feeling they will.
Yeah,
they will. They're going to take a lot of that attention. They're going to take a lot of that ticket sales. They're going to take a lot of those fans that, again, say, hey, screw you, Broncos. You still can't win. I'm going to go to a winner. I'm going to go at least over here to Boulder.
Well, think about this, too, Nick. Not just in Boulder and going down south, but coming up north our way. Because, again, too, we've been mediocre, Wyoming Cowboys.
CSU is bad. Air Force is
CU's,
one of the brighter spots in the Rocky Mountain region right now.
And CU starts making some noise. Holy cow. Yeah. Eyes are going to be on Neon Deion. So,
and like I said, I think that's where the concern, if you are that ownership, and, again, the front office for the Broncos, where, again, you saw those fans already step away from the game and, again, not attend and not sell out that stadium, that it's going to be even more pressure as now a lot of folks want to get on that CU bandwagon out there in Colorado, want to attend those games, see this in action, and it's going to take a lot of that dollar. It's going to take a lot of those butts and seats that, again, are going to say, especially with the economy, my money's more valuable here than it is here. I can't afford both. Instead, if it's going to be NFL prices, I'm going to go for the better contest on Saturdays over at CU. So
Cody Roark was our first guest for the Denver Broncos, again, giving us his opinion, a beat reporter for Mile High Sports and host of Locked On Broncos podcast. We have Kevin McKinney coming up next hour. We do need to take a break. This is the Pro Show. Wednesday morning, Larry Proietti along with Nick Proietti, and we're back after these words.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
So today's your 18th birthday. Hey, Bobby, pretty exciting.
Oh, yeah. I've got my whole life ahead of me. School, then a job. I've been waiting for this day forever.
And when will you be registering with Selective Service?
What? Oh, yeah. I don't know. I'll get around to it someday.
Someday?
Yeah, like, whenever I get around to it, I don't know.
Well, Bobby, if you don't register with Selective Service within 30 days of your 18th birthday, you can lose out on college loans, job training, and government jobs. And then you'll be, like out of luck.
Bobby, where are you going?
I'm just gonna get online for a minute, then I'll be right back.
To register with Selective Service, log on to www.sss.gov or stop by your local post office.
There. Are you happy now?
Very.
Check out the huge savings this week at Town & Country Supermarket Liquors. Here are just a few of the terrific weekly specials. It's your one-stop to shop for these Super Radio buys heard only right here. Sailor Jerry's Spiced Rum, 1.75-liter bottle, $25.99. Sam Adams, all available varieties, 12-pack, 12-ounce bottles or cans, $15.49. And Jose Cuervo Golden Margaritas, original or strawberry, 1.75-liter bottle, $18.99. Town and Country Supermarket Liquors on the South Greeley Highway, Cheyenne's low-price leader. Happy New Year and welcome to 2023 from the Terry Bison Ranch. And most importantly, a huge thank you for your continued support. The Terry Bison Ranch wants to let you know that they will be closed throughout the month of January as they will be remodeling to bring you more entertainment, delicious food, and of course, fantastic family fun. Remember, the Terry Bison Ranch will be closed for remodeling from now until January 31st.
Capital Lumber is lumber one in Cheyenne. Are you listening? We're all the lumber store you'll ever need. For electrical, plumbing, paint, and tools, lumber and hardware, we're for you. And we're out to earn your business, yes indeed. Capital Lumber is lumber one today. Are you listening? Capital Lumber's at your service all the way.
Since 1966, Cheyenne and Laramie County has depended on and trusted family-owned and operated Capital Lumber Company for all your lumber and hardware needs at 1222 Dunn Avenue in Cheyenne.
For almost 60 years, 1480 K-Ray has been Cheyenne's home for good times and great oldies. Add to that live play-by-play sports featuring high school football and basketball, along with LCCC men's and women's basketball. Now combo that with KYOY FM and you have Cheyenne and the area's only locally owned AM and FM radio stations. But we don't stop there. We also have 2 FM translators which serve the area with programming from both K-Ray and KYOY. And that equals a lot of bang for your advertising dollar. Radio yesterday and now today, along with our websites, web streams, and digital ventures makes us your one-stop shop. For more information, please call Larry Proietti at 307-637-0301.
Here's the latest weather forecast on 1480 K-Ray.
Weather-wise for today, a winter storm warnings in effect through this evening. Snow continuing with blustery conditions. Look for a daytime high of 24 degrees. Total daytime snow accumulation of 1 to 2 inches possible. Mostly clear for tonight with patchy blowing snow and blustery conditions. Our low down to 16 degrees. Tomorrow, Thursday, we're calling for sunshine and breezy with patchy blowing snow. Expect the daytime high near 34. And for Thursday night, mostly cloudy or low down to 14 degrees. And we welcome you back to the Pro Show. I'm glad that we had Cody on, too, because that kind of helps Nick and myself to kind of keep it back into the AFC as we now move into playoffs. And, you know, first off, you look at the games over this past weekend. Boy, the L.A. Chargers, they are reminding me of old Marty Schottenheimer teams. I'm just telling you, this team...
You act as if you're surprised. We're again.
I thought they were the better team.
As we were alluding to the playoffs again, I told you that there was 2 teams that were possible for upsets. One was again Jacksonville over the Chargers. Again, Chargers did not impress me, and again still didn't impress me in that playoff game. Clearly, again as they are eliminated, and again we look over to the NFC, which again we'll get to. But again, the Giants, I called that one. Said, hey, Giants have a legitimate shot at taking the Vikings. Vikings, I put them on the same vein as the Chargers. Not all impressive. Again, we're collapsing at the tail end of the season. But, again, going back to that Jacksonville Chargers game, give credit to Trevor Lawrence and company coming from behind. Had to, again, what was it, 24-point comeback? 27. So, again, either way, though, phenomenal come-from-behind victory for the Jacksonville Jaguars to move on to the play, at least further on in these playoffs. Again, Chargers, told you, you couldn't believe in this team. Again, they lucked themselves into the playoffs, and Jacksonville, again, still proved that they were the better team.
Would you agree with me? And I'm going to throw this out here right now. And again, I'm you know me, I'm digging what Brock Purdy's doing in with the 49ers right now. Does the AFC have the best young quarterbacks? Let's look at Kansas City, Mahomes, Bills, Josh Allen, the Bungles with Burrow. You got Trevor Lawrence over in Jacksonville. Even Herbert with the L.A. Chargers. I mean, aren't the best quarterbacks right now in the AFC?
I think who have made immediate impacts, yeah, without a doubt, the AFC. The NFC has a lot of youth quarterbacks that are developing. You look, especially with Chicago, again, with Fields. He had kind of an interesting year. We'll see how he works within that Bears organization. Again, you got Brock Purdy, who's doing something special. Again, who knows with Trey Lance with the 49ers. Again, you got two youth right there. Again, I think, again, the comparison of it's more so AFC has been young, immediate impact quarterbacks. The NFC still has those aging vets that are still trying to at least garner, again, a championship victory with Aaron Rodgers, with what you're seeing with, again, with Tom Brady down in Tampa Bay. You know, again, it's kind of old versus new, essentially. But, again, I think within the NFC there are developing young quarterbacks that haven't really kind of hit the same level as a Josh Allen, as a Patrick Mahomes, but we'll see of what they're capable of. And like I said, again, I think the best example is out there in Chicago with Fields.
You know, and again, too, you look at a Justin Fields. Chicago sitting on that number one pick. Do they get a lot for that pick? Because
I think so.
I don't think they really need to go after a backup quarterback.
No.
So, and they need some help. But again, too, you look at Chicago. They beat the 49ers week 1.
Which, again, was completely fluky of just bad
because of the weather.
Yeah.
But, you know, my point is they are capable of knocking off the big teams. So, again, you look at the NFC. And, again, you know how I feel about Garoppolo. Kirk Cousins is in that same discussion. I feel Minnesota paid way too much for Kirk Cousins. You look at other quarterbacks, Dak Prescott. You know, he really is, since he's come back from the injury, he looks really good. He's a good young quarterback.
You're kind of, as you're alluding to, again, you look even with Geno Smith as well, too, it was Seattle, even though, again, Geno.
He's getting a shot now.
Yeah, we'll see, especially after that loss to the 49ers. But, again, it seems like as we're comparing the two conferences, it's more so AFC, as we mentioned, again, youth, immediate impact quarterbacks, again, for a lot of those teams. It seems like in the NFC, as I alluded to, again, it's aging vets, but it seems like it's a good amount of quarterbacks that have been there for some time trying to kind of establish their careers or try to establish as an elite status, so to speak. Again, as you mentioned with Dak Prescott, again, Geno Smith trying to at least get back into relevancy. Again, are the better right now, again, looking at these playoffs, does the AFC have better teams over the NFC? Yeah, possibly. Even though, again, yes, we are 49er fans, I think 49ers have a legitimate shot of making it to the Super Bowl, have a legitimate shot of winning the thing as well, too, especially, again, that defense is just unbelievable. This offense really started to at least compare itself as well, too, with all the weapons that they have. But, again, you look at to what we saw this past weekend, again, if we'll keep on the AFC, again, Jacksonville, shocking, and again, it wasn't shocking to me, but shocking to LA Chargers. Again, pretty much outside of that, it was pretty much to Hoyle of Cincinnati defeating Baltimore, even though it was a close effort. Buffalo coming away with a 3-point victory over Miami. Again,
you got the
it's hard to compare the two conferences where, again, you have, I think there's the amount of greater teams is more in the AFC compared to the NFC. I think in the NFC, it's pretty much San Francisco and Philadelphia. I think the Giants have no shot against Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia should take care of business pretty handily against them, especially with that game being out in Philadelphia, but we shall see, especially with at least with Jones at least at the quarterback position for the Giants. But you look at Dallas, 49ers last year. 49ers last year proved with a kind of the worst, at least, how do I put this, of where, again, 49ers are vastly improved team this year than they were last year, still got it done on the road against Dallas in AT&T Stadium.
I liked what Dallas did against Tampa. But let's go back over to the AFC. Let's talk about Kansas City, Jacksonville. I mean, these are flamethrowers. Mahomes, Trevor Lawrence. You look at Buffalo and Cincinnati. And I will give Burrow this. Burrow, is a good thrower. They have probably the better of the running backs, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, Josh Allen, you got that additional run, and same with Patrick Mahomes. Again, Trevor Lawrence not much of a runner with Jacksonville. I like all those games right now coming up in the AFC divisional.
The big test as well too. Again, looking at that Kansas City-Jacksonville game, and that game in Kansas City again, as we're experiencing the weather here, that might play a big factor. Again, might play in favor at least for the Kansas City Chiefs. But again, I think the Cinderella story that is Jacksonville comes to an end, unfortunately, against Kansas City. I think Kansas City is. I pause, and I won't say the odds-on favorite in the AFC because, again, you do have Cincinnati, you do have Buffalo. That's going to be just a grind-out, just battle between those two. Again, that game in Buffalo. Kansas City is really, really good, but I can't hand them the AFC Championship just automatically.
No.
But again, I think in this divisional round matchup between them and Jacksonville, Kansas City, especially if weather does play a factor, Kansas City should win that game,
but also
pretty comfortably.
Also, too, you go back to the Jacksonville Chargers game. Chargers offense bogged down. Do you see any flaws in the Kansas City offense? No, I don't. They're not going to bog down.
Offensive line a bit, but
they're going to allow points. You know, you can score on Kansas City, so I expect Jacksonville to put the ball in the end zone. All right, but the point is with Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey. These guys can score on a dime. So you're going to have to outscore Kansas City. I don't think Jacksonville is going to outscore Kansas City. They did a great job coming back on the Chargers, but I think it stops right there at Arrowhead this weekend.
Yeah, I think played it simple. I think that, again, it was a nice run. You were able to do that come from behind victory against at least the LA Chargers. If you get down by that much, again, that 27-point deficit against the Chiefs, sorry, it's not going to happen. You're going to be buried if you find yourselves having to at least come from behind a 27-point lead by the Kansas City Chiefs. So good luck. Like I said, I think Kansas City should win this divisional round matchup pretty handily. Looking back at the other AFC contest, again, Buffalo with a close win at home against the Miami Dolphins. I was kind of shocked by that, and I thought Buffalo should win pretty comfortably against Miami. Miami gave them a fit. Miami with a little questionable, at least kind of clock management in that contest, but still, is it something that for Bills fans, for, again, a lot of fans here in this state, again, rooting for Josh Allen, be concerned about their contest at home against Cincinnati? I'd say yes, a slight yes. It was a bit concerning because Miami has been a shell of themselves for the past couple of weeks. They limped also too into the playoffs, in my opinion. But it did show a little concern on that defense that now you're taking on Joe Burrow, who's got a lot of weapons. That Cincinnati offense, they can score on a dime as well too, similar to Buffalo as well. That defense on Buffalo's really got to shore things up, or else Burrow will expose them and might shock at least the road kind of upset against Buffalo this weekend.
And I don't think weather's going to come into play because, again, Cincinnati also has weather issues as well. So whether it's cold in Buffalo, it's snowing in Buffalo, I don't think that's going to come into play. I think for Josh Allen, and again, I think I hopefully speak on behalf of a lot of Wyomingites that we're really pulling for Josh to get them into the championship game. He's got to have a consistent game. And again, you know, obviously he likes to go to Diggs a lot, but you look at Josh, he's got to make those throws. He's got to put them right in the hands because he has been off on some of his throws.
Which, again, we saw when, again, his time here with the Wyoming Cowboys, he has that kind of issue of accuracy. That was his biggest criticism going into the draft.
He's not a high-percentage quarterback.
And it still is showing up here. Does he need to be a 134 QBR to win against Cincinnati? Not necessarily. Again, I think Buffalo is dynamic on the offense, that they can find other ways to get points on the board. But, again, it's a concern of you got Cincinnati that also too can score in bunches and put up a high-powered offense. That defense has really got to shore things up. If Josh Allen were to struggle on some throws, a couple 3-and-outs, that's the only concern. So, again, that's a coin flip. Going back to at least Baltimore, or at least, to Cincinnati very quickly, again, winning against Baltimore, Lamar Jackson did not play, apparently did not show up to that game. You got to imagine Lamar Jackson is done in Baltimore.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to slap the franchise tag on him. Yeah, you can stick a fork in him. You know, I want to go back to Buffalo and Cincinnati too. You know, and you made a good point with the QBR for Josh. You know, he's not going to get that 100-plus QBR. what he does, though,
could, but it's going to be really difficult.
No,
against
but what
Cincinnati.
he does, though, in respect to that 134 QBR, he does it with his legs, and that's going to be a little bit of the difference, I think, between his legs and Joe Burrow's legs, because again, they're going to have. I think you said it best. You got to keep that offense of Cincinnati off the field.
And I think something as well, too, again, we look back to that Miami game for Buffalo, again, with Josh Allen, again, 2 INTs. You can't afford INTs against this Bengals team. Yeah. They're going to make you pay. They're going to convert that into points where Miami did as well. But I think Bengals will absolutely make you pay for that, especially where, again, it's going to be fun to watch Logan Wilson taking on Josh Allen, those two opposing on the other side. Logan Wilson, you got to imagine he's going to be spotlighting and wanting to make a statement against his old, at least, Cowboy teammate.
How about that hit against Huntley?
Yeah.
And that was the game right there. It was Logan Wilson who stopped. And, again, you looked at all of the replays. There was no way he was even close to breaking the plane. Wilson knocks the ball out of his hands, and, that propelled the Bengals to win. But, going back to, and you mentioned Lamar Jackson, again, the talk was he's going to command this price. He's also going, the Ravens have that opportunity to slap the franchise tag. He didn't come with the team on this particular playoff game. Is his time done in Baltimore?
Yeah.
I think. But who's going to pay
that?
that scratch for him? And again, he's oft injured over the last couple
There's
of seasons.
There's teams out there that, again, you look at what Denver did with Russell Wilson. Again, they gave away everything for the guy. There's going to be a team stupid enough to do something like that. And again, Lamar Jackson, give him credit, as much as he is starting to become off injured, he's still got some talent. He's got some capability in him. Again, we saw that in his few seasons with the Baltimore Ravens. Again, there's going to be a team out there. Again, if Tampa Bay is to lose Tom Brady, which it looks like Tom Brady's time there with the Buccaneers is up, could Tampa Bay go, hey, Lamar, come on out this way. We'll give you a shot right now. Tampa Bay is that kind of experimental franchise, as we've seen over the years past, where, again, they're willing to, again, put gobs of money or at least take a chance on a potential quarterback situation. So, again, Tampa would come to mind. There are, again,
let's talk about the Bay of Pigs right there. Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers.
He might be done, yeah.
Yeah. And, again, they do have a capable backup. It's not Aaron Rodgers' quality. And again, too, you look when Brett Favre stepped down, Aaron Rodgers stepped in. They didn't miss a beat.
No.
It will be a significant drop-off if Rodgers leaves Green Bay. So you look at the situation with Lamar Jackson. Let's just throw that out there for just argument's sake. Having him go to Green Bay, that you would have to change the whole dynamic of that offense there. And again, Aaron Rodgers, who's probably one of the best ad-libbers on the field. I don't think Lamar Jackson
aging out, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think Lamar Jackson comes even close to ad-libbing as well.
If you're Green Bay, if you're Tampa Bay, if you're any of these teams struggling to find a quarterback right now, again, beggars can't be choosers right now. Where, again, you either go after the draft or, again, you find what's available. And again, you got two potential aging vets that will be available, possibly. Again, Jimmy G, the situation out there with the 49ers, he's going to be coveted. Who knows? Lamar Jackson, like I said, I think he is done with Baltimore. I think that act of not showing up to that game really upset a lot of Ravens fans, upset the organization. That, again, his time is going to be done. I don't think it's a question of if. I think it's guaranteed that Lamar Jackson will not suit up in the black and purple coming up in 2023.
Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers and go back to Tom Brady as well. You look at Aaron Rodgers, if he does leave Green Bay, he's leaving to be a starter.
He's leaving also, too, to go to a winner, same with Tom Brady.
Yeah, but Tom Brady's not going to start. I just don't – you watch that – and, again, I know we don't want to talk about the NFC yet, but I just don't see Tom Brady as being – I mean, he's still a top-tier quarterback. Don't get me wrong. And he's still in great shape for, a guy that's in his mid-40s. I just don't see him as a starter. Again, you go to the AFC right now. AFC is just top-heavy with young quarterbacks. In the NFC, and I know, and this is kind of ironic, both Rodgers, who went to Pleasant Valley High School in Chico, went to Butte College, went to the University of California. You look at Tom Brady, who was born in the Bay Area, who lived in the Bay Area. Both these guys love the 49ers. Okay?
Which, again, has been rumored for every time that they've come up on free agency of will they go to San Francisco again. Who knows? Again, 49ers, I think, are more invested in. Again, you went after Trey Lance. You put all that money with Jimmy G. You kept him on as you were trying to trade him away, but you kept him on. And now you got Brock Purdy, who is showing
his
like
stock
he's phenomenal. Yeah. So we shall see. Again, what this QB offseason is going to look like. Again, it could be tumultuous. It could be just fireworks aplenty where there's a lot of teams that are going to be wanting quarterbacks. And, again, look into the NFC East. Again, obviously Dallas, Philly are pretty happy. But, again, could the Commanders look at either or of those entities? Again, Giants are pretty happy clearly with Daniel Jones. Again, the NFC South. That's a division that needs a lot of help, even though, again, Tom Brady within at least that organization with Tampa. But, again, I don't think he stays there. Who knows? Carolina with New Orleans, with Atlanta. There's three entities that need a quarterback. You look into the NFC West, Arizona.
Murray's starting to be injured right now. Do they have the potential of being a winner?
LA's not going to shop because I think, again, this – for the Rams was kind of an anomaly year. I think they'll be back in the conversation.
They might be looking for a head coach.
Yeah, they're going to be at least for a head coach. But, again, quarterback, I think they're pretty much set in stone with Stafford. I think they're pretty happy with that.
What about Geno Smith at Seattle?
Yeah,
who knows? Kind of hard to
yeah.
bench him.
But, again, after the playoff, again, you gave Geno a shot. But would you shift him down to the bench for an opportunity at Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady? I could see Seattle doing that. But, again, who knows at that point in time. Again, to get back onto the playoffs again, as we're almost at the top of the hour, looking at the AFC matchups, again, divisional round upcoming this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. The other at least one of the matchups, Kansas City at home hosting Jacksonville. As of right now, again, the line favored Kansas City by 8.5. I think that's right. I think that's fair.
I think Kansas City covers the line. And where I'm at on Buffalo and Cincinnati, again, throwing out my Josh Allen fandom, I'm a nervous pick for Buffalo to win at Orchard Park.
Right now, Buffalo, as it looks, 5.5 at home favorite over Cincy. I think that's a little disrespectful to Cincinnati.
Yeah,
I think they should be a little closer.
I think Buffalo wins that thing by a field goal at best. So, again, like I said, my pick for Buffalo is a nervous pick.
Predictions
right
really quickly on the AFC side. Again, I think Kansas City covers that spread. I think Kansas City wins at home pretty comfortably against Jacksonville. I think that's just without a doubt. I'd say Kansas City wins by at least minimum 2 touchdowns over the Jags. Buffalo at home against Cincinnati. This is the marquee matchup that everyone is at least wanting to see. And, again, you're going to get you kind of want to pull for Josh Allen, but we've seen him in the playoffs where he gets exposed by talented teams and finds a way to stop it. At least that playoff run kind of stops. There's something about the Cincinnati team that, again, they've been sneaky good. They've been kind of under the radar, again, especially there in the AFC as we talk about the talented teams. They've been under the radar of Buffalo and Kansas City, who's getting all the attention. I think Cincinnati's going to use that to their benefit. And I feel like they're going to shock the world. Again, don't disrespect Cincinnati.
Right.
It's a team that, again, is a year removed from being in the Super Bowl.
Well, you look at Cincinnati, kind of identical to the 49ers, that slow start, and then they kind of put it into another gear. You look at Buffalo, good start, then they had that stumble, but they're playing well now. Again, let's not sell Miami short. Miami's a good team.
Not really.
They're not.
Miami, again, look at the last weeks and whatnot from Miami.
That's a team that, again, worse than they are.
No, again, they didn't have Tua.
Okay, well,
this is a team that, again, had no identity. Again, Miami was a joke. I don't think Miami deserved to be in the playoffs. Same with the Chargers.
Right,
again, I think they lucked themselves in. Again, Miami limped into the playoffs.
All right, well, you look at Buffalo, peak, valley, they're peaking again. So, again, this is a good matchup. Like I said, I give Buffalo a nervous win this weekend. And like I said, field goal to me, I think the 5 points, I wouldn't take the points.
For me, again, Kansas City, Cincinnati, book it for the AFC Championship. I think, again, Kansas City feel comfortable. Cincinnati, it's tough. It is tough, but something just tells me that Bengals team, they know what it takes to get to the promised land. They did it last year. They could do it again even on the road against Buffalo, where, again, who knows if it'll be a factor. But, again, as you alluded to, again, Cincinnati doesn't really care. They deal with at least kind of similar conditions. So, like I said, Cincinnati just floated on the radar that they are a quality, great team and can get it done. And again, if Josh Allen were to at least, if turnovers are going to be a big factor in that contest, Josh Allen throws a couple INTs against Cincinnati, ball game, I think, goes advantage to the Bengals if he's unable to at least kind of clean up his game.
So we both agree in Kansas City. I've got Buffalo. You have?
Cincy.
All right. All right, we're going to take a break. Kevin McKinney will be joining us here in just a few minutes. You are listening to the Pro Show. I'm Larry Proietti. He's Nick Proietti. We're back after these words.
Hi, it's Lee at Absolute Flooring. It's time to put 2022 behind us and get 2023 off to a great start. The best way to do that is with new flooring from Absolute Flooring. With a large variety of flooring products and a multitude of styles, colors, and prices, your new floor awaits you. And with the best in installers, get your new year started off right with a stop at Absolute Flooring in the Cheyenne Plaza and at AbsoluteFlooringWIO.com. Remember, it's always your home, your floor, your store, absolutely.
Are you 60 plus and love to travel? Introducing the Senior Travel Discount Network, brought to you by Low Cost Airlines. Call us anytime, day or night, and save up to 75% on your airline and hotel reservations. We can help you save a ton of money to fly almost anywhere. We have inside discounts on over 500 airlines and 500,000 hotels worldwide. And when you call and mention the discount code 60 plus, we'll give you an extra free night with your qualified air and hotel reservation. Now you can get the best prices on air and hotel reservations with your phone. We make it easy and fast for you to save money and book a trip. Remember, call the Senior Travel Discount Network, mention the discount code 60 plus for your free hotel night with your qualified reservation. Call now.
800-510-7126. 800-510-7126. 800-510-7126. That's 800-510-7126.
Attention! This is a public notice from the Social Security Disability Helpline. If you're one of the millions of Americans who are disabled and unable to work, you may be eligible for disability benefits from Social Security. Receiving benefits is your right. If you suffer from physical or mental disability, whether you're applying for the first time or you've already been denied, we can help. We'll evaluate your situation and deal with Social Security on your behalf. Best of all, there's no fee until you receive your benefits. Remember, we only get paid if you win your case. There are many reasons and conditions that may make you eligible for disability benefits. Many of them you may not be aware of. So if you're disabled and unable to work, call now to get started with your free, no-obligation consultation.
800-797-0711. 800-797-0711. 800-797-0711. That's 800-797-0711.
If you're a diabetic, we have great news. You can end the painful finger sticks with a new CGM. Plus, they may be covered by Medicare, Medicaid, or private insurance. If you test and inject daily, you may qualify. Call US Med now to learn more.
800-413-7619. 800-413-7619. 800-413-7619. That's 800-413-7619.
We are the key to your cleaning success. The Key People that provides affordable office and professional cleaning services for over 40 years with exceptional customer care. All of our contractors have background checks and are licensed and bonded. We guarantee you a safe and secure service that is tailored to your individual and business needs. The Key People do not impose year-long contracts, and all quotes are free, confidential, and personalized. Call the Key People at 1-800-468-8283. That's 1-800-468-8283.
Here's the latest weather forecast on 1480 K-Ray.
Weather-wise for today, a winter storm warning is in effect through this evening. Snow continuing with blustery conditions. Look for a daytime high of 24 degrees. Total daytime snow accumulation of 1 to 2 inches possible. Mostly clear for tonight with patchy blowing snow and blustery conditions. Our low down to 16 degrees. Tomorrow, Thursday, we're calling for sunshine and breezy with patchy blowing snow. Expect a daytime high near 34. And for Thursday night, mostly cloudy or low down to 14 degrees.
This is 1480 KRAE Cheyenne.
Right now on 1480 K-Ray, it's time for the Pro Show, featuring the only father and son sports talk show talking about the local sports scene as we take a look back and look ahead to upcoming events around our area. The Pro Show is on now, right here on 1480 K-Ray. And we welcome you back to the Pro Show. I'm Larry Proietti, along with Nick Proietti, and we bring on our next guest. He has been a long-time voice with the Wyoming Cowboys. Again, also long-time. I almost want to call you a folk hero over there in Laramie because, again, people know Kevin. Kevin, they know you from many different hats that you've worn over at the University of Wyoming. It's so nice to have you back on the show. Let's get into Wyoming Cowboy hoops. You come back after your second shortest road trip, even though down to Colorado Springs it seems like it's forever to get there too. But I guess I start off my question this way with you, Kevin. I think back to the 2020 Golden State Warriors. Klay Thompson's out, Draymond Green's out, Steph Curry was in and out of the lineup. And this Wyoming Cowboy team kind of reminds me of those Warriors from about 3 seasons ago, just all the injuries and what Jeff Linder has to assemble to put down on the floor. It's got to be just really tough right now on everybody, including the Cowboys.
It is. It's just really a tough situation. You know, you hope that the guys that are out are going to be healthy and return back to normal. But, you're going last night, 13th different lineup. So that leads the country in starting lineups. But, what can you do, guys? I mean, you gotta coach them, and you got to practice, and you got to play, and you got to do the best you can. And, I felt like last night the Cowboys played really well in the first half, really well. And then you knew Air Force would make a run and come back, which it did. But it's happening down the stretch, maybe from the 8-minute mark on to the end of the game, where you just kind of run out of steam. And the Cowboys just didn't defend like they had earlier in the game, and Air Force got some easy buckets, and they got some wide open looks, and they're having a good year. They're a pretty decent team, especially there at Clune, and so you play hard for so long, but you've got to finish the game, and that's what the Cowboys aren't able to do. Now, this was more of a game like New Mexico and San Diego State, certainly not like Utah State and Boise State, but they had a chance to win this game, and just didn't get the stops down the stretch they needed to. And it is frustrating. It's very difficult for everybody involved because you're still playing hard and you're practicing and you're trying to do the job. You just don't have all your bullets.
Kevin, as you mentioned again, with at least that Boise State contest, again, one injury of note from that was, again, Hunter Maldonado going down in that contest. Again, after the contest, had updates, again, having difficulty breathing. Last night's contest down there in Colorado Springs, again, did not suit up. What is the status of Hunter Maldonado? Will he be available for this upcoming Saturday's contest at home against CSU? Give us a little health update of what exactly happened to him and when can we next see him back on the court?
Well, that's also frustrating about all this is now he's got some rib issues, and so I think I've had that, and many people have, where it's hard to breathe, and whenever you move, it hurts, and so will he be ready for Saturday? I think that would be very definitely a question. We're certainly hopeful that he could be back, but having had rib injuries, that's kind of a slow process, so we'll see how he feels, obviously. But you're still waiting for Hunter Thompson to come back. Hopefully, he can in the next week or so. So those two, Kenny Foster has had surgery on his back, and so he's going to be gone for a few weeks at least. We don't know how long. And Wenzel is still nursing the knee injury, and that's also up in the air as to when he's going to be able to come back. So these are injuries that you don't get over right away, obviously.
Yeah.
And, so every guy is questionable, or you just don't know. And so whether Maldo's ready for the CSU game or not, could not say right now. And I know he's still really sore. He did go with us last night, but it's just hard for him. I don't know. I think that as far as Linder and the staff are concerned, they've just got a plan for not having those guys. And as each one comes back, it's a bonus, and so you got to practice with the guys you have and get them ready for the game. And that's what happened for the Air Force game. A couple of young guys played a lot of minutes last night, and so that was a positive. But you want your guys who are used to starting and used to playing on the road and used to the border war, for instance. So we'll have to wait and see, guys. I think that there's really not a good answer for that right now, other than very questionable.
The team photo is a Blue Cross Blue Shield X-ray more than anything right now for this squad. Let me say this though, Kevin, and out of the bad and the ugly that the Cowboys are going through right now, there's some good. And Cowboy fans want to look at the future. Again, we throw a Noah Reynolds out there, but you say, okay, we'll bumble and stumble and we'll limp through this season and maybe something good will come out of it. But I look ahead towards the future and I'm going, wow, we got some talent that's coming up as well too.
Absolutely, and that's exactly the way to look at it. As Jeff continues to say, nobody's going to feel sorry for Wyoming. That's just what has happened, and so what do you do? Well, you play the guys that probably wouldn't get many minutes ordinarily, and that's really helping them, and really they'll utilize that for the years to come, and that's the very big positive. You're absolutely right. That's the good part about it. Last night we. As Jeff said, just when you think you're kind of at rock bottom, our bus goes off the road, and we're out there on 287 for 4.5 hours waiting for a tow truck. And so you're sitting there going, well, what the heck? What else can happen? Let's get it all out now and move on to better days. So it's just been one of those seasons that you could almost write a book about.
It's a season from hell. That's what it's called, Kevin. You know what? But one thing, and again, I've been around for a long time, covering the Cowboys and watching the Cowboys. You know what this has a eerie similar feel to? When Joe Tiller took over as the head football coach, his first year. Look at all the injuries that he sustained, and boom, the next season, they're contenders. I mean, it's one of those situations where you got to play through the pain, but fans sometimes want W's right now.
Oh, of course, and that's just the way of the land. But you do go through the pain for hopefully some good gain, and that's what we're all looking forward to. As we just said, I mean, some of these kids are getting a lot more playing time than they ordinarily would, and they're showing that they can play, and that Wyoming recruited them for a good reason, and so. That's up all the way you can look at it. I mean, we've had 3 or 4 games, 3 games in the league that we probably would have won the way we were going, the way we were playing, and even without EK. And that's just the way it is. I remember when Larry Nance went down, we had a major struggle until he was able to come back. You just can't lose those type of players and have a great season. Now, had we not lost all the rest of them, I think we would have been still very competitive, obviously. And EK would have been the big missing piece. But when you lose so many, you just got to get through it, and that's what we're trying to do.
Kevin, as we alluded to, again, right now, Cowboys on an 8-game losing streak, 0-6 right now in the Mountain West Conference. Again, we'll have a battle coming up, the border war, this Saturday over in the AA, taking on the CSU Rams. But, again, the bubble opportunity that we, at least in preseason, thought the Cowboys had a shot at with that team before all their injuries at least happened, again, has kind of burst. Right now, it's pretty much of got to win that Mountain West Conference, at least tournament or bust to get into that NCAA tournament for the Wyoming Cowboys again, as they sit right now 5-13. But again, we talk about these injuries, we talk about the timelines, if rehabbing, all that, if good fortune can finally turn around for the Wyoming Cowboys, and again by March time out there in Las Vegas, could we see a Cowboys team that could potentially make that run if things go our way and we start getting these big pieces back?
Oh yeah, you're just not sure about EK and what shape he'll be in, when he does come back. But you can, if you get these guys back, and we know they're good players, we know they're Mountain West players, and anything happens, and anything can happen. It does happen in the Mountain West tournament. So that's what you've got to play for, and that's what you've got to think about. And it sounds crazy with a winless conference season so far, but when you get your pieces back, we know that these guys can play with anybody in the Mountain West because we've seen that happen. It's just a matter of will they be able to reach the level of play that they're used to whenever they do come back at a certain point. It's going to take some games for a guy like Graham to get back into it, or Wenzel, or Maldo, or any of those guys. But we know they can do it, and if they're young guys, they're resilient guys. That's the hope. They can come back and by tournament time be ready to make a run at it. And I know that nobody will want to play Wyoming when that happens. So who knows?
Kevin, I think all fans from Cheyenne need to go to St. Mary's. They need to go to Holy Trinity. They need to go to St. Joseph's and bring gallons of holy water with them. I think that's probably the only relief we're going to get. Hey, I want to flip over to the Cowgirls. And again, we knew the Cowgirls were going to be okay this season. When Gerald stepped down, the cupboard wasn't bare. And again, you moved right into the next coach that was going to step in and take over this program, and it wasn't really going to miss a beat. But we've had distractions, for this Cowgirls program, so to speak. But they've been flying under the radar, and the success really is more surprising to me than anything, and it's a good success.
Well, it is. They're playing very well. They're playing with a lot of confidence, which is what you have to do, obviously. And I think that, they have done a marvelous job of adjusting to the way things are. And we wish Heather and her new little girl the very best. And I think they're coming along well. But to have the rest of the staff step up, especially Ryan Larson, who's the associate head coach, and he's the leader of the group, to do that and to have the girls adjust to that and play as well as they are is just really remarkable. And I know they're really excited about how they're playing. They had a couple of veterans that stayed around, and Tommy and Weideman, and that's a big help. But they've had some kids really step up and play well, and you have to have that when you don't really aren't sure who's going to be able to do that. But Melema has played well. Of course, Fertig we knew was going to play well, and she's been awesome. Grace Ellis has really been outstanding for the team, and one of the team leaders along with the two veterans. But man, you just never know. And here Heather is away, and on the phone and Skypes and all that Zooms all the time with them, but they've done a great job. They've got good players. They're playing well together, and you got to give them a lot of credit because they have just been fantastic. Now, tomorrow night's going to be a big game with UNLV coming in to the AA, but I really like the Cowgirls' chances.
All right, Kevin. Hey, some great stuff. Thank you so much again. With this rough and tough season for the Wyoming Cowboys, you're one of the positive influences for Wyoming Cowboy fans to understand. Hey, it's not that they're playing bad basketball; they're hurt, and the only way that this Cowboy team gets better is they got to get some guys that come off the IL. And again, you're keeping your chin up on this, and I think all Cowboy fans need to do the same as well.
I agree, and I think they will. And I appreciate your words as always, Larry. Thank you.
Kevin McKinney joining us here from the University of Wyoming, as it has been, Nick, and we'll take a break here in just a second. It's been a rough season because, again, this team came in with a lot of promise. Like you said, possible bubble team. Never know. Could have made some waves here in the Mountain West Conference, but we'll have to wait till March to see who comes off sick bay to lend a hand. But again, you're seeing the future of the Cowboys on the floor right now, and they're pretty doggone impressive.
Yeah, again, we'll see with the Cowboys, again, who returns back, if they can be a full squad by March time out there in Las Vegas for the Mountain West Conference Tournament. Pretty much plain and simple for the Cowboys right now. Got to win a few conference games. It starts this weekend with CSU, which, again, is going to be a tall task, but got to pick up some victories, or at least basically what right now for Jeff Linder and company is you're trying to find a favorable seeding into that Mountain West Conference Tournament to avoid, again, whether it's taking on New Mexico, San Diego State in that next round. You're just trying to find a favorable seeding, avoid it, at least kind of that play-in contest as well, too, in that first round, which, again, I don't think it's going to be possible for the Cowboys as they stand again 0-6, 8-game losing streak, 5-13 overall. But for the Cowboys, we shall see again. Will it be a different team by March? Hopefully. Again, I think a lot of Cowboy fans want it to be that different team to see that potential, or at least what we thought was a tentative starting five. Hopefully it will be that official starting five come time in Las Vegas, because, again, the only way for this team to make the NCAA tournament is Mountain West Conference Championship, and that's it.
And it's not a brand of bad basketball for the Cowboys. It's hurt basketball for the Wyoming Cowboys. Again, 8 guys suited up last night, and I'm telling you, Jeff Linder doesn't have very many options. This is the Pro Show. I'm Larry Proietti. He's Nick Proietti. We're going to pay some bills. We'll be right back with more.
1480 K-Ray is your home for live play-by-play coverage of high school basketball and football. To hear all the play-by-play calls of East, Central, and South football and basketball. You'll hear the conference action along with the postseason, and during the basketball season, 1480 K-Ray features both boys and girls games. Catch all the exciting calls on AM 1480 K-Ray, also streaming the games worldwide on at 1480kray.com.
Cheyenne Urological has been the cornerstone of urinary care to Cheyenne and its surrounding communities for over 30 years. With their fine expert doctors, along with their highly trained staff, they will provide top-quality treatment for prostate cancer, urinary tract infections, kidney stones, impotence, and incontinence. Cheyenne Urological is now offering cutting-edge robotic surgery. So call Cheyenne Urological at 635-4131 for compassionate expert urinary care. That's 635-4131. MHP is a certified public accounting and consulting firm located in Bow, Cheyenne, and Fort Collins, offering accounting, tax, and consulting services to businesses, not-for-profit, government, and individual clients. MHP takes pride in their commitment to providing close, personal attention to their clients. They also continue to invest time and resources in continuing education, state-of-the-art computer technology, and valuing their relationships with you. MHP is a proud supporter of local and UW athletics. MHP, 314 West 18th Street, or call 634-2151.
Are you 60 plus and love to travel? Introducing the Senior Travel Discount Network, brought to you by Low Cost Airlines. Call us anytime, day or night, and save up to 75% on your airline and hotel reservations. We can help you save a ton of money to fly almost anywhere. We have inside discounts on over 500 airlines and 500,000 hotels worldwide. And when you call and mention the discount code 60 plus, we'll give you an extra free night with your qualified air and hotel reservation. Now you can get the best prices on air and hotel reservations with your phone. We make it easy and fast for you to save money and book a trip. Remember, call the Senior Travel Discount Network, mention the discount code 60 plus for your free hotel night with your qualified reservation. Call now.
800-510-7126. 800-510-7126. 800-510-7126. That's 800-510-7126.
17 years in the community and still striving to offer you the best value in a new vehicle. AJ Miller here for Kia of Cheyenne. Take a look at the new 2023 Kia Sorento. With the 2023 Kia Sorento, you have a choice of 3 models, 8 different trims, and 4 different all-weather drive modes. Some available features include 281 horsepower, 20-inch wheels, remote start, and climate control. Come into Kia of Cheyenne, call 775-0123 or go to kiaofcheyenne.com, and we'll make it easy.
Here's the latest weather forecast on 1480 K-Ray.
Weather-wise for today, a winter storm warnings in effect through this evening. Snow continuing with blustery conditions. Look for a daytime high of 24 degrees. Total daytime snow accumulation of 1 to 2 inches possible. Mostly clear for tonight with patchy blowing snow and blustery conditions. Our low down to 16 degrees. Tomorrow, Thursday, we're calling for sunshine and breezy with patchy blowing snow. Expect a daytime high near 34. And for Thursday night, mostly cloudy or low down to 14 degrees. And welcome back to the Pro Show. It is a Wednesday afternoon. Larry Proietti, along with Nick Proietti. We'll move back to the National Football League, and we also have some announcements coming up.
At the end of the at least end of the show. Again, we'll update folks on schedule, at least on local events, especially with this winter storm, as you just heard again, ongoing through today. Again, so far, I think Cheyenne are averaging around 7 inches of snow. So again, just hitting here in Cheyenne just alone. But going back to the NFL, again, we focus on the AFC. We'll go to the NFC. We kind of spoke a little bit on the 49ers. We'll probably just save that for last. But looking at the other matchups, again, in Wild Card Weekend, again, as I mentioned, Giants pulling off the upset victory against the Minnesota Vikings. Again, that game in Minnesota. No surprise for me.
The Vikings kind of dodged a lot of bullets this season.
Well, guess what? Again, it come towards the tail end of the season, they limped into the playoffs. And again, at least in my opinion, they limped in. Giants took advantage of it. Give credit to Daniel Jones as well, too. Don't think he's an elite quarterback. And I think Giants coming up again this week and taking on Philadelphia, I think similar to Jacksonville, that Cinderella story comes to an end. But I give credit to them. They took advantage of Minnesota that's had their struggles. And like I said, Minnesota, I put same vein as the Chargers weren't a heavy believer in them. And I guess as you were going with your statement of, yeah, it was a fortunate team this year that took on some pretty bad teams, got the victories, and when they were tested, kind of collapsed within.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to make a lot of Viking fans happy. You're not going to get to the promised land with Kirk Cousins.
No.
And again, I've
been saying that for years with the guy at the helm.
Both he and Garoppolo signing those big contracts, that same year, both were.
Well, here's the difference.
Cousins was awful in Washington.
Here's the difference between Cousins and Jimmy G again signing his contract with the 49ers. Guess what? Jimmy G took the 49ers to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but he doesn't have a ring. So,
it's a farther step than what Kirk Cousins has done in his career.
Well, and again, and I'm sorry to Viking fans, I think you spend a lot of money on a quarterback that is okay. He's not going to take you there all the way. So, adios Vikings.
And give credit to the Giants as well, too, with Daniel Jones, again, developing within that system. They got some good talent, a part of that team. Clearly, again, first-year head coach as well, too. Again, with Brian Daboll. Again, give credit to the Giants of pulling off this upset where Giants weren't a team that was kind of in that conversation to even make the playoffs. They get a big victory in Wild Card Weekend. But I think coming up this weekend against Philadelphia, I think that's where, again, it comes to an end. Yeah. Looking very quickly at the upcoming schedule right now, again, for that contest, as I can't see it right now, or at least trying to look at the spread right now. Don't have it here in front of me. It looks like Philadelphia at home, at least hosting this contest. 7.5-point favorite against the Giants. Yeah, I think similar to the 8.5 for the Chiefs. Yeah, I think that's right.
And again, let's give Philadelphia their prompts. They have turned it around. We knew that Jalen Hurts was good, but his career went up another notch this season. And again, he's got some dangerous receivers.
Yeah.
They got a good defense. But I think what's most important with Philadelphia and for Jalen Hurts, their offensive line. Their offensive line has been doing the job since day one, and that's why Jalen Hurts has taken his game to that next level.
Is Philadelphia the best team in the NFC? You can make an argument, but again, I think we saw over this wild card weekend, and I think you'll see, as I've alluded to it again, with us being Niner fans, again, still believe that this Niners team can make it to the Super Bowl. I think San Francisco proved, and we saw it this weekend against Seattle, that They are the best team in the NFC, taking care of business against Seattle. Moving on to the at least before we get to that, at least NFC West battle on Saturday between the Niners and Seattle. Again, we mentioned Giants moving on, defeating the Vikings. Again, no surprise there. Minnesota limping in, Giants red hot. They get into the playoffs and moving on. The Monday night contest, Bucks hosting the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, Bucks same situation where, again, they were fortunate to make it into the playoffs. They limped. They had a beautiful opportunity to host a very powerful Dallas team. Again, Dallas was in that conversation with Philadelphia early on of being one of the best here in the NFC. Mm-hmm. Again, Dallas getting it done. Tampa limping in, similar, again, into the playoffs. This had all the writing in the world. The Cowboys should have won that one.
The NFC South was the worst division.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in playoffs, whoever wins that division, and we saw that years ago in the NFC West, I think Seattle was under 500, and they got into the playoffs. But let's be real honest. The NFC South with Carolina, Atlanta, New Orleans, and Tampa was the most pitiful division.
Seattle getting it done at least years ago, and again, they pulled off that playoff victory as well, too. They were sitting at 7-9, Tampa coming in 8-9. Yeah, again, they had that benefit of being the division winner to host the Dallas Cowboys, but you had a feeling that Tampa, even being at home with Tom Brady, they have had all sorts of issues this year. Again, Tom Brady with the divorce, who knows if that played a big factor in his play of the season. But, yeah, NFC South, Tampa Bay included, was one of the worst divisions in football. It proved once again, Monday night's contest at Dallas, yes, was clearly the better team. We'll move on, and we'll face the 49ers coming up in at least Sunday night action. Dallas, especially after winning that contest, realizing that they will play the 49ers coming up on Sunday night. Gotta love that Dallas Cowboys organization, fans alike as well, too, complaining that, we have a short turnaround for playing a Monday night game. Well, again, this is the new format for the wild card. It's been like that for at least for a few seasons now. Deal with it.
Win your division. If you win the division, you will be playing at home, and you'll be playing on.
Or else go back to Commissioner Goodell and say, "Hey, we don't want these additional teams in the playoffs."
That's just Jerry Jones whining and griping. Yeah. Here's the deal. Let's look at the Dallas Cowboys, and we'll talk about the 49ers coming up. The Dallas Cowboys are a pretty decent outfit, okay?
Yeah, again, it's a team that's been solid throughout the entire year.
And again, too, they've got not one but two quarterbacks that can lead them if one gets hurt, and heaven forbid that Dak Prescott gets hurt. Running backs, got a couple of good running backs.
Yeah.
Got some good hands receivers.
Which they did last year. Yeah.
They're a solid offensive line, and the defense. That is what we saw last year against the 49ers is going to be a complete turnaround because, again, that defense is much improved. But also, too, so is the offense. I like this game. And the only part I like about this game, it's in Santa Clara.
Yeah,
I would be a little more nervous if it was at A&T.
Before we preview that game, again, coming up in the divisional round, again, 49ers hosting the Dallas Cowboys Sunday night. 49ers, again, at home, hosting the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks gave the 49ers a run for their money in the first half, which, again, you got to imagine that it was more so of Brock Purdy. First playoff game, getting the butterflies out. Defense really stood strong. Again, couple, at least, again, the boneheaded penalty before half, again, getting Seattle into field goal, at least range, giving them the 1 point advantage going into halftime. Again, stupid stuff like that. Again, 49ers got a void coming up this weekend against the Dallas Cowboys, but survived what was kind of a shaky first half, even though defense looked pretty damn impressive. Second half really turned on the afterburners. This offense really stepped it up. And, again, still can stamp, but I again feel comfortable. And again, the stats back you up that again you have the best defense, one of the most high-powered offenses in all the NFL, not even just the NFC, but again in the NFL, all those weapons with McCaffrey, with Kittle, with Debo back healthy. That offensive line is starting to get.
You said it right there. The word healthy. The team is at 100%. Well, I shouldn't say 100% health. It's the healthiest it's ever been. But one other thing too about the 49ers, they are a team, and again too, we talk about DeMeco Ryans. This is a team that goes in at the intermission and doesn't skip a beat. They go in and they make those adjustments at halftime. Whether it's offensively with Shanahan or DeMeco Ryans' defense, That's a different team you see coming out playing the third and fourth quarter. And Seattle found out exactly how good the 49ers are, how good they are at adjusting. Because, again, Geno Smith was not moving around in the second half as freely as he was in the first half.
He was running for his life most of the time.
Exactly.
And same with Brock Purdy as well. But Brock Purdy, again, the youth, again, a little energy and a step, again, was able to elude a lot of those would-be at least sacks or tackles in the backfield. But, again, 49ers, especially on the defensive side, really frustrating, really shutting things down. Again, do have a weak spot on that corner, which, again, DK Metcalf really exposed, especially in that first half, which, again, does put a little concern against that Dallas Cowboys team, especially with Dak and, again, their weapons that they have. But to move away, again, we're Seattle eliminated. The future of Geno Smith at the helm of the quarterback position there for Seattle, again, I think is kind of up in the air, but to be determined. Again, got him into the playoffs, but you kind of essentially laid a goose egg, especially in that second half against the 49ers.
How much longer is Pete Carroll going to hang around over at Seattle? I mean, was it Pete almost
I think
74,
he's
75?
Yeah, but again, he might be a lifer, so who knows? Again, you've seen at least head coaches in that position where, again, age up until their 80s and still keep on going.
Well,
I think Seattle's happy
I don't think Pete Carroll takes Seattle back to the promised land.
No.
And
especially not with Geno Smith.
I think his time has come and gone over there in Seattle.
But I think that fan base is pretty happy where, again, he's brought him like Super Bowl appearances, a Super Bowl championship, playoff appearances, again, some interesting playoff wins. Again, they made note to showcase that NFC championship game in Seattle. Again, a game that I attended, again, showing that last second deflection against Michael Crabtree. But, again, I think Pete Carroll is pretty much guaranteed lifer there. If he wants to retire, he can retire. I think Seattle, the organization, is happy with him as the head man, especially with the pieces that he has right now for the Seahawks. This is a team that, was fortunate, had a lot of things work their way as well, too, come to the tail end of the season to get into the playoffs. So, when his time will come, again, that's up to Pete Carroll's decision of when he wants to step away from the game, which, again, I don't think is anytime soon. But moving away from that wild card matchup, again, previewing the at least divisional round on the NFC side. Again, we talked a little bit about Giants, Eagles. Again, Eagles that's a juggernaut. And again, it's an NFC East battle. It'll be interesting, but I think Eagles win comfortably. 49ers hosting Dallas, a rematch of last year's game, even though it's swapped in inverse, where, again, last year was at AT&T. 49ers coming away with a victory in that ball game. 49ers at Santa Clara hosting the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys fans and Cowboy organization embracing the fact of looking for revenge against the 49ers. I think the 49ers, for me as a fan aspect, I don't feel too afraid or too nervous in this matchup where, again, look at what this Niners team did last year on the road. This season, they're better than what they were last year. That's kind of the scary thing. If you're a Dallas fan or if you're that Cowboys team, this 49ers team on both sides of the ball, and including the offensive, again, the weapons that they brought on with Brock Purdy's play right now, even as a rookie quarterback, this team is vastly improved and now is hosting you in their sight.
They're healthy. That's all I got to say. This is the healthiest the 49ers have been all season long, except at the quarterback position. But, again, Brock Purdy has paid off in big dividends. One of the things I really liked in the second half and after the butterflies and the excitement of that first playoff game for Brock Purdy, and, again, he never showed it, but, again, the first half wasn't Brock Purdy. Second half,
First half was, again, a lot heavy on the defense. Again, Christian McCaffrey as well, too, shining, at least his talents. But that first half, you could tell Brock Purdy was a little shaky. But the second half is, again, second half is the Brock Purdy that you should anticipate coming up against Dallas.
And you saw the quick slants, how he was leading Debo, hitting Kittle. But, again, you got McCaffrey. You've got so many weapons offensively that Brock Purdy kind of secondary in the equation.
Yeah.
So you look at the 49ers offensively, they're healthy, and they are dangerous. How about Ayuk? Gosh,
I forgot about him.
He has developed into one of the game's top receivers.
Yeah, without a doubt. Again, him, Deebo Samuel, again, one of the best an argument for the best tight end with Kittle of what he's able to do. Christian McCaffrey, again, resurgent of his career, again, getting out of Carolina, now being part of San Francisco. Again, he's really turned off the afterburners and really had success so far in the few contests that he's had with the 49ers. But this is again, where we talk, and everyone wants to hand that crown immediately to the Philadelphia Eagles of saying the best team in the NFC. We don't really have that litmus test between Eagles and 49ers. We didn't get that regular season matchup. We might get it in the NFC Championship. I feel confident that we will. Again, you look at what the 49ers did to Seattle, look at what they potentially could do against Dallas. That this is a team that on both sides of the ball, stats-wise, is one of the best in the league.
Well, and again, too, I think, again, with Nick Bosa, right there, that's your defense. I mean, you can center your defense around Nick, what he has done. But again, you've got the linebacking core that's tough. I think what makes the 49ers defense very stellar right now is Armstead.
Yeah.
A healthy Armstead. So he takes a lot of pressure off Bosa up front. And again, they're active. And if you're going to try to run, you're going to run Elliott against them. And Ezekiel Elliott's not Ezekiel Elliott. You're going to have to probably go secondary against the 49ers. But you're going to have a hard time running.
Yeah, against Seattle, realize that, yeah.
Dak Prescott doesn't really like to run. He'll run when he needs to. So he's not a Geno Smith who can take off on a dime.
Is he more mobile than Geno? I would say yeah.
Not really. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think and the way the 49ers defense converges, and that's what they made. They made that great adjustment in the second half where Smith couldn't get outside. They forced him up the gut, and that linebacking core of the 49ers is right there. They got their sights set on you. Same with Prescott. If they can keep him from – and he likes to run up the middle, so let's give Prescott his due. But I think the 49ers are going to be able to set that set that in motion.
Nothing's, again, is going through the middle against that 49ers defense. Again, this is a storied rivalry between Dallas and 49ers in the playoffs. Again, we know the infamous moments, especially back in the 80s, 90s, of these two franchises going at it. But this one, again, and looking at the spread right now, it's the lowest spread of any of the four contests coming up this weekend. Again, 4-point advantage for the 49ers. Also, too, expecting one of the lowest over-unders as well, too, at 46. And I think that's more respect to both defenses, including the 49ers, especially with the low amount of points they've allowed this season. But, again, sitting here, San Francisco as a 49er fan, again, that franchise as well, that team, You can't focus your sights on the NFC Championship game and anticipating Philadelphia. You got to set your sights here on Dallas, but you feel pretty damn comfortable where, again, you proved last year on the road with Jimmy G at the helm, and, again, you had an injured-ish team going into that playoff game against the Dallas Cowboys. You still found a way to beat that team. This year, you're hosting the same squad. They've improved, but I think the 49ers have improved even greatly compared to the Dallas Cowboys on both sides of the ball. That this, for me, and again, you got to imagine for a lot of 49er fans that, again, you feel pretty damn comfortable that San Francisco should win this game. Will they win comfortably as we talk about with Kansas City, with Philadelphia? No, I think this could be a close contest, but I still feel like Niners should come away with a win at home.
And we had that opportunity last year to watch the Green Bay 49ers contest, and the 49ers just got more beat up. And when they played the Rams, and I'm not making an excuse, but the 49ers were not this year's 49ers team defensively.
If 49ers had a few things going their way last year, again, they should have beat the Rams.
But now you look at, and I will give Dallas the tip of the cap. You got Coach McCarthy. He's a proven winner. And he had some stellar years with Green Bay. He's turned Dallas into a...
He's only got one championship as well, too, with those years in Green Bay.
He got him into the promise every year. The point is, they're a good outfit, and you can't fall asleep on the Cowboys. And you're absolutely right. This could be a 23-20 score. And again, I've had the opportunity to see the old Dallas 49er rivalries back at Candlestick. So this one you just don't know. But I think
I wouldn't go that far and say you just don't know. Again, I feel confident. Again, looking at this team where, again, the 49ers, yes, they had some questionable losses this season. Again, the Denver contest, which, again, was for that Sunday Night Football game. That was a fluke. Again, Jimmy G's first game back. Again, the Chicago contest and Chicago, again, that rain, that just terrible field, that Soldier Field that played to the advantage of the Bears. You toss those away. You look at this team is one of the high. Again, it's not how you play then, it's how you play now. And how you're playing right now, if you're the 49ers, you're one of the best in the NFL. You're on, again, what is it, 10, 11 game winning streak right now?
The Christian McCaffrey trade was the huge. That was the turning point. Even though they lost their first game with McCaffrey, that still was the turning point of the season. Second of all, Brock Purdy has already got a playoff game under his belt. So you expect Brock Purdy.
The butterflies are gone.
Yeah, you expect Brock Purdy second half against Seattle to come out against the Dallas Cowboys this weekend. So, being a diehard 49er fan, and I have been for all my life a diehard 49ers fan, not going to sell me on Dallas. I think the Niners, a field goal, maybe a touchdown better. I would, to be real honest, as a diehard 49er fan, love to see them clean their clock.
And they could. Again, that offense says if that offense from the second half shows up for all four quarters against Dallas, sorry, Dallas, you're well behind in the rearview mirror of this 49ers, this team for their chance to move on to the NFC Championship. Predictions as I gave earlier, again, the AFC Championship potential matchup in my mind, it'll be Kansas City, Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati pulls off a close victory on the road against Buffalo. In the NFC, I think it's just pretty much top seeds matchup. Philly, San Francisco for the NFC Championship. Again, I think that's a legitimate possibility. I think Philadelphia has a comfortable win against the Giants. 49ers, I think, have a very close call with the Dallas Cowboys. Hopefully it's a little bit more lax, where, again, Niners at least have a good touchdown or two lead by the 0 mark in the fourth quarter. But, again, Philly, 49ers, I think I'm going to go with that pick as for the NFC Championship.
Yeah, I like that, and again too, Philadelphia will get hopefully a top flight 49ers team if the 49ers could beat Dallas, which I think they can.
And I think that's a matchup that, again, the NFL is drooling over and, again, wants, where, again, we did not see in the regular season. Philadelphia, who has been that consistent number one team, has been kind of that odds-on favorite. Here comes the 49ers that have developed throughout this season, have kind of put themselves in the conversation as Super Bowl contenders. That's the matchup that, again, we're all waiting to see who is the best team in the NFC.
And I'm being selfish here, and I hope I speak on behalf of a lot, 49er fans up here, because there are a lot of 49er fans in our part of the world. I'm being selfish where I really want a Buffalo, San Francisco Super Bowl. Because, again, Josh Allen, 49er fan.
Yeah.
When he grew up. So, again, I always wanted that Oakland Raiders, San Francisco Super Bowl. Got close, never had it. But here's one where I really would like the Buffalo Bills to get there along with the 49ers.
I'll take 49er Kansas City rematch, and again, hopefully 49ers can avenge the loss of the Super Bowl a couple of seasons ago and get their at least sixth championship. But either way, again, if 49ers, for them to get onto the Super Bowl, similar to Buffalo, similar to Kansas City, it's gonna be a tough road when, again, they make it to that. If, and I guess I'll say if, again, when they make it to that NFC and AFC championship game, again, they oppose some very talented teams on that other side. So we shall see. Again, as of right now, to not get ahead of ourselves, or at least for myself on kind of a superstitious side, 49ers, Philly, NFC championship game, at least my prediction. Cincinnati, Kansas City, AFC Championship. I feel pretty damn comfortable with those picks.
Yeah, I just dispute you on Buffalo and Cincinnati. You look at this situation upcoming for this weekend. I just like the fact that the 49ers are at home and they're healthy. And again, a 49ers healthy team is a dangerous team. And another thing, too, you notice all the teams when Dallas is on the road, they want Dallas to wear the blue. 49ers are going to wear their home red. They don't care that the Cowboys wear the white because they've been tradition. They were one of the first teams to stay with the white jerseys always at home. Yeah. 49ers, they don't care if the Cowboys show up with their white jerseys. They're still going to beat them.
No, I would hope so. I think
at
so.
Levi's in Santa Clara.
In front of that, again, hungry fan base that was loud and proud again against Seattle. Again, that's a big-time rivalry game. This is even bigger. And, again, you couldn't set up a better divisional round, especially that matchup. Again, two old school rivals in the playoffs facing off again. 49ers getting it done last year, looking to do it again this year, and, again, have the benefit of a better team and, again, home field advantage there at Levi's.
Boy, this goes back a 50-year rivalry for me because I remember when Dick Nolan was coaching the 49ers at Old Candlestick Park and Steve Spurrier was the quarterback for the 49ers back in the day. Oh, I'll tell you, this has been a long, storied rivalry between these two franchises, especially in the playoffs. We are going to take a timeout. We're going to get you caught up on what's happening on the high school side because there are some changes in the schedule, and that also will affect our broadcasts. So we'll be back with more right after this here on 1480 K-Ray. For over 30 years and still delivering the results you expect is Shine Auto Repair and Service. Hi, this is Larry Proietti again for Cars in downtown Cheyenne, reminding you that John and his staff are there to take care of your vehicle's woes. From oil change and replacing windshield wipers to digging deep into fixing your heating and air conditioning unit or fixing your brakes and shocks. You can depend on Shine Auto Repair and Service for taking care of most minor repairs. And most importantly, John is a TechNet professional, which means he is one of the best nationally when it comes to getting your car or truck back on the road as soon as possible. Check him out online at technetprofessional.com. Don't wait until the last minute. Have your vehicle serviced by one of the best in Cheyenne. Shine Auto Repair and Service at 604 West Lincoln Way. Call for an appointment at 632-0498. That's 307-632-0498. Open Monday through Friday. Check out the huge savings this week at Town & Country Supermarket Liquors. Here are just a few of the terrific weekly specials. It's your one-stop to shop for these Super Radio buys heard only right here. Sailor Jerry's Spiced Rum, 1.75-liter bottle, $25.99. Sam Adams, all available varieties, 12-pack, 12-ounce bottles or cans, $15.49. And Jose Cuervo Golden Margaritas, original or strawberry, 1.75-liter bottle, $18.99. Town & Country Supermarket Liquors on the South Greeley Highway, Cheyenne's low-price leader. In the 1960s, Bruce Lee said, "Be water, my friend." The meaning of that advice has been debated ever since. Here at First Tier Bank, we believe he meant that preserving your liquid assets in a high-yield money market account can get you a decent yield on your funds while maintaining your liquidity in choppy financial markets. We've got some of the best money market rates around, and we'd like to invite you to be water and make your liquid assets work for you. Stop by or call First Tier Bank today with 2 locations to serve you at 1508 Stillwater Avenue and 1800 Cary Avenue in downtown Cheyenne, or check us out at firsttierbanks.com. First Tier Banks, member FDIC. For nearly 30 years, family-owned and operated Lennox Auto Body, along with the Auto Glass and Detail Center, has been serving our community with quality and customer satisfaction. It's a pretty simple drill. When you want it done right the first time, call Lennox Auto Body for an appointment at 307-634-6608. Lennox Auto Body at 1020 Dunn Avenue. And the Auto Glass and Detail Center. Remember, it's not clean until it's Lennox clean at 617 East Pershing Boulevard.
Lennox Auto Body. No shortcuts, no compromise.
Have you ever met a single person in your life that enjoys paying taxes? No, no one does. If you can't sleep at night because you have a huge problem with the IRS, I've got some free advice for you. This service is strictly limited to individuals that owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes. And if you qualify, we can guarantee that you won't be writing a big fat check to the IRS, or our services cost you nothing. The first 100 people that call today will get a free tax consultation worth $500. Stop worrying about your IRS problem. We can help you, we promise. Call the tax doctor right now. I mean right now, to learn more.
800-368-1307. 800-368-1307. 800-368-1307. That's 800-368-1307.
Here's the latest weather forecast on 1480 K-Ray.
Weather-wise for today, a winter storm warnings in effect through this evening. Snow continuing with blustery conditions. Look for a daytime high of 24 degrees. Total daytime snow accumulation of 1 to 2 inches possible. Mostly clear for tonight with patchy blowing snow and blustery conditions. Our low down to 16 degrees. Tomorrow, Thursday, we're calling for sunshine and breezy with patchy blowing snow. Expect the daytime high near 34. And for Thursday night, mostly cloudy or low down to 14 degrees. We welcome you back to the Pro Show, closing moments of our program. Again, we want to thank Athletic Director Jerry Schlaps, who was with us on the program, ironically, yesterday, chatting with us. And again, I'm sure we'll be hearing from Chad Whitworth, as well as Athletic Director at South, Wendy Johnson here. But changes in the schedule, why? Mother Nature has decided to take full control of the situations around here. So
that's what
you got to adapt and improvise.
That's
now.
what I was alluded to yesterday again with that Laramie East game, which was set for tonight again. Did get pushed back again, did not get canceled again, postponed. Instead to at least tomorrow night. Laramie at Cheyenne East again, same time, 6 and 7:30. There at East High at least at the Thunderdome. For us again, we were set for East versus South instead on a Thursday night live from Story Gym. Instead, that game also too got pushed back. It'll now be East at South, no longer at Story Gym, but now at South High. So East versus South at South, 6 and 7:30 now at Friday. So again, Central, South, all of their events got pushed back. Again, Central versus South at Story Gym was supposed to happen tonight. Instead, it shifted to tomorrow. East, Laramie shifted to tomorrow. East versus South Friday, and then Laramie versus Central moved over to Friday. For us, schedule-wise, at least broadcast schedule-wise, again, we will stay with that East versus South matchup now, again, happening at Cheyenne South, 6 and 7:30. Friday is when at least those games will happen here live on 1480 AM, 101.1 FM, 1480KRA.com. On the audio side, video live streaming as we do on the 1480KRA YouTube channel. So, again, that'll be Friday's action. So, Thursday, we will step away, essentially. Again, we will have no, at least, program or anything like that. Again, it'll just be 50s and 60s oldies all day tomorrow. Again, Friday's action, again, for East versus South at South. And then Saturday, we'll still stick, again, weather depending as well, too. We'll keep an eye on roads, I-80, and also, too, again, the highway going over to Burns. But, again, we are still set for Saturday's action, Pine at Burns. 3 and 4:30 at least, or no, actually 4:30 and 6 for that Saturday's action live from Burns.
And just for fans, no guarantee with East and Laramie. Because, again,
Laramie's got to come over.
We're calling for blustery conditions, and that's just here in the city. Again, if you've driven through I-80, once you get past Buford going west, it's pretty treacherous. So, again, we'll have a good idea probably right around the lunch hour tomorrow exactly what's going on with East Laramie.
But either way, for us, again, we will step aside, even though we were supposed to tentative have a game tomorrow. Instead, we will not have a broadcast. Instead, we will keep our focus with normal games that we were supposed to have. East at South, Pine at Burns, again, Friday and Saturday, 6 and 7:30. Friday's action, East at South. And then 4:30 and 6, Pine Bluffs at Burns in 2A matchup. So looking forward to both, at least all of those contests coming up this weekend here on 1480 K-Ray.
All right, so again, 6 and 7:30 coming up Friday, and again, 4:30 and 6 o'clock coming up on Saturdays. That's going to wrap up our program for today. Once again, thank you to Cody Roark joining us in our first hour, and Kevin McKinney here in hour number 2.
Reminding folks again, this show, along with the other, at least Tuesday episode of the Pro Show, same with K-Ray Reports, all of our programs at 11 a.m. to 1 live, again, will be replayed later on the same day at 4 and 6 o'clock. So stay tuned on 1480 AM, 101.1 FM, 1480KRA.com, and the audio side for a replay if you happen to miss any of our conversation or any of our interviews from today's episode. Also, too, from 8 until 10 o'clock, the Golden Age of Radio played here live on 1480 K-Ray. Again, the All-Star Western Theater, and also Meet the Press, I do believe, for today. Again, at least on Meet the Press, Fidel Castro is one of the episodes, so tune in for that interview back in the day. Again, that's from around the 50s and 60s, so again, that's what we offer to you here, the Golden Age of Radio, again, which is going to be only played today, and again, played yesterday, will not play tomorrow, just due to the fact that, again, we anticipated that we had high school basketball in that position. So,
all right, now that's going to wrap things up here for us on the Pro Show. So for Nick Proietti, I'm Larry Proietti, and we now return to regular programming.